Welcome back to GB Guns. You guys asked for it, and so we did it. A 68, 69 grain 223 556 roundup. We used two different rifles, the Double Star Midnight Dragon and Stag Varminter, with two different optics. We had a right on 6 to 24, and
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's a Lucid 4x16.
4 to 16. So I gave Tia her choice, since she hasn't had as much shooting, between the two rifles and the two optics. Tia, what were your thoughts? What made you choose the Lucid?
The reason I chose the Lucid is because when comparing just the scopes, the clarity of it was really nice. I was able to see what I was looking at. What I failed to pay attention to was the reticle.
Yeah, the Lucid here has a 1/8 MOA floating center aiming point. Little tiny thing. You can fit 8 of them in a box, or a 1-inch square on your target. So it makes for great precise aiming. However,
I wear glasses.
so it can be a little hard to see sometimes. I ended up with the right on 6 to 24, which is a very bright scope. It actually surprises me for a company coming out of the Southwest that their glass is brighter than a company here in the Northwest. You'd think if anyone wants shades, it would be the right on folks. But very bright glass on it. This is a first focal plane, which meant that as I zoomed, the reticle also zoomed and got larger, making it, you could say, also a challenge for precision aiming, depending on reticle and your personal preference. I thought it was okay. This scope, like most of the higher powered scopes out there on the market, does lose some clarity at the higher magnification. The center aiming area, where you need to be looking, remains clear, but around the edges it loses some things. And to keep things fair, I kept it at 16 power. Now, this was not a competition between T and I. It was not a competition between Double Star and Stag. We did this because we wanted to try two 24-inch 5.56 barrels, 1 1/8 twist, so that the barrel was not the variable, the shooter was kind of not the variable, and the optic was not the variable. That's why we did it the way we did. And as far as how we shot, what was our mode?
We were in the same position, using the same bag, kept it is relatively the same as we could. I'm shorter, I have to scoot it up a little bit sometimes. We would take turns shooting. I would shoot my 5 shots, Graham would shoot his. Our guns were cooling in the rack in between times.
And about that, we did notice, using our little budget Amazon laser temperature gauge, it appeared that the exterior surface of the fluted barrel was getting hotter than the non-fluted. Now, is that a $25 laser temperature gauge? Maybe. Is it that because there's more surface area from the fluting, and the low spots of the flute are closer to the heat, that the heat's being pulled to the surface, the exterior surface of the barrel faster? I don't know. I'm going to let you guys decide and comment and argue away with your expert
Well, it was
PhDs
cooler to the touch on the fluted barrels than it was on the stainless. So we measured that, and it found it very odd that the fluting wasn't cooling off as fast as the stainless.
Yeah, and it was a brisk day, so who knows. But anyways, 10 different loads. We'll roll in that footage for you to take a look at what all we shot and our rate of shooting, what our tempo was, and then we'll go over some of the results. So here, barely visible are our results. Don't worry, I'll be rolling in some wonderful PowerPoint. Yeah, that's right, folks. Thanks to you, I got to get on PowerPoint and do some number crunching. But 10 loads from 2 shooters and 2 rifles. There's a lot to be thinking about there. The one load that really surprised us was best for both of us.
And that was the Winchester.
Yeah, the Winchester match. The stuff that I'd never really taken too seriously. I ended up at a .41.
0.89.
0.93. 0.89 MOA, 0.93 inch. Yeah. If we want to go by MOA, I got a .4 MOA on that. But that was our best load. My number 2 ended up being the Gorilla 69 grain.
And mine was the Barnes.
Number 3 for me was the Sierra 69 grain.
And my number 3 was the Fiocchi, which interestingly enough, we shot the same MOA on that.
Yeah, we both shot the same size group on the Fiocchi, and both of our groups favored a little to the left with that load. The point of impact changed a little bit on some of these, some a little higher, some a little bit lower for each gun. Now, I'm going to venture a wild guess and say that's up to your barrel. So, not going to bother showing you all that because barrel to barrel, same gun, same manufacturer might get a different thing. But overall, you'll be seeing in these charts, hopefully they're rolling by. I didn't forget to put those in while we're talking here, that most of the loads did pretty darn good. As far as what's a favorite for you, I think that's going to come down to well, what works best in your gun. Also, maybe a little analysis of cost per group. That was a tough one to do. We're filming this during the COVID times, and so street price is kind of hard to determine. Plus, the video stays the same, and time goes on, changes, and prices change. Not all the manufacturers have their price on their website. There's no MSRP for some of these, so I just had to go off of first page Google search. What was the best price there for doing any math like that?
What would be an interesting, or what was an interesting point for me was the recoil on some of the loads. That would be something that I would factor in after having experienced the difference of so many different brands and well, we only did 68, 69, but it was really interesting, the recoil difference in some of them than in others.
That's true, and thanks to Pacific Northwest weather, which never looks like what you're happening to see right now.
It's cold.
But usually, on this particular day that we shot, we couldn't get the chrono out there because of rain and intermittent clouds. But Hornady loads a 68 grain in both 223 and 556 in their Frontier line. They claim the exact same speed on the box, and yet both T and I, and we even had our friend Orgear happen to be up for that range day, we had him give it a try, and he noticed more recoil on the 556 than the 223, which is technically a higher pressure load. These are 556 chambered guns. It was strange. I did not expect that, but we felt it and had a third party feel it, and I didn't tell him what he was shooting, and he said, yeah, that one's snappier, and that was the 556.
And given that those were the first 2 rounds that we shot that day, I expected them all to have that kind of a variance between the 223 and the 556, and they didn't. That was the one that had the biggest and most noticeable difference.
Yeah, it was really interesting. If I suggest all of you who are watching this far into the video, that means you're definitely ammunition nuts and gun nerds. Thank you for sticking with us. To try and replicate that, get out and try to find the same load in 223 and 556 from the same manufacturer if you can, and shoot them and tell us if you can feel the difference. I honestly didn't think, I knew numbers wise there was a difference, but never thought I'd feel it, especially in a big, heavy 24-inch rifle length gas system, rifle length buffer system. These are soft shooting guns. You've seen our reviews on both of these guns before, and yet back to back you could tell. I think that recoil impulse might be, as Tia brought up, a deciding factor for which is best for you, especially if you're looking for quick follow-up shots. Sure, it might be the difference between
But that little push means I'm readjusting. So
yeah, it could be your quicker shot. Since those of you are watching, you don't feel what I'm pushing. There was only a slight difference there. That's just a silly moment. But this was a very expensive test. I hope that you're able to pause and go back through those charts and see what worked. Some manufacturers did help us with a couple boxes. Hornady in particular sent some, as did Nosler. Interestingly enough, Federal didn't want to participate in this.
But I'm grateful for who did, because it's not something that, you know, normally you would get to experience, and I'm very grateful for the experience.
Yeah, and a lot of some of these, for example, that Winchester, I never took it too seriously because, I mean, let's be honest, Winchester doesn't make the greatest ammo generally, but we get it through our Ammo Squared subscription, and so that's how it's been in some of our tests and how we had some on hand. Didn't make this video to be a plug for Ammo Squared, but it is another example of why we have this subscription. We are paying members because it sends out ammo that I don't find here locally in the shops and may not have even considered. But cool
We
test.
like to be open-minded about things.
Yeah, and you never know what's gonna be best. The fact that ammo worked best in both of these guns for both of these shooters speaks a lot. The fact that number 2 was different, although for me it was Gorilla at 0.72 inches, and these are 5-shot groups, folks. Tia had 1.21 inch because of a flyer, so maybe she would have been tighter on that. This is once again why we do 2 shooters, and in this case 2 different rifles, because if it had only been one of us doing this, you would have had different results. So please go back through and take a look at those charts. They did take some time to put together. I mean, for this to be educational, it certainly took some time and some money that I get to hear about. So let us know what your questions are, hopefully sooner than later, so that some of this is still fresh in our memory. Otherwise, you're just stuck with the footage. Thanks for watching.